Lady Jane Grey was born into a world of power and ambition. Her family tree boasted royal blood, making her a significant player in the Tudor dynasty. From a young age, it was clear Jane possessed a sharp mind. While other children played, she immersed herself in books, mastering languages and devouring knowledge. Jane's tutors were amazed by her intellect and thirst for learning. They praised her sharp wit and ability to grasp complex ideas. Her command of Latin, a language reserved for the learned, was particularly impressive. While she excelled in her studies, Jane remained remarkably humble. Her gentle nature stood in stark contrast to the ruthless ambition that often characterized court life. This made her a favorite among those who saw beyond the pursuit of power. However, fate, it seemed, had other plans for the young scholar. King Edward VI, a sickly boy king, clung precariously to life. With his death looming, England braced itself for a succession crisis. Edward, a staunch Protestant, wished to prevent his Catholic half-sister Mary from taking the throne. This is where Lady Jane Grey, a distant cousin and devout Protestant, became a pawn in a dangerous game. Edward's advisors, seeking to maintain their grip on power, saw in Jane a malleable figurehead. They pressured the dying king to name her as his heir, pushing aside the legitimate claims of both Mary and Elizabeth. When news of Edward's decision became public, it sent shockwaves through the court. Jane, thrust into the spotlight, was horrified. She had no desire for the throne and viewed the whole situation with dread. On July 10, 1553, Lady Jane Grey, a reluctant queen at the age of 16, ascended the English throne. Her reign, however, was destined to be short-lived. Mary, backed by popular support and a powerful network of allies, refused to accept this usurpation. The country, already on edge, teetered on the brink of civil war. Jane, trapped in a whirlwind of events she never sought, found herself a ruler in name only. Her advisors, riven by fear and infighting, offered little guidance. As Mary's forces gathered strength, Jane's support crumbled. The Privy Council, sensing the tide turning, switched their allegiance back to Mary. Jane, after a mere 9 days on the throne, was declared illegitimate. Her brief reign had come to an abrupt and unceremonious end. Deposed and imprisoned in the Tower of London, Lady Jane Grey faced an uncertain future. The Tower's imposing walls held both political prisoners and those condemned to death. Her royal lineage offered little protection. Her very existence posed a threat to Queen Mary's legitimacy. Despite the fear gnawing at her, Jane confronted her captivity with remarkable composure. She found solace in her books and her unwavering faith. Her spirit, though tested, remained unbroken. Mary, initially inclined towards mercy, hesitated to execute a young woman who had been, in many ways, a victim of circumstance. But Jane's very existence fueled unrest and rebellion. Mary, pressured by her advisors, saw Jane's continued survival as a threat to her reign. The shadow of the axe. The year 1554 brought with it a glimmer of hope for Jane and her supporters. Sir Thomas Wyatt, a powerful nobleman, led a rebellion against Queen Mary, aiming to depose her and place Jane back on the throne. Jane, still a figurehead for Protestant resistance, became a rallying point for the uprising. However, Wyatt's rebellion, plagued by poor organization and a lack of popular support, was swiftly crushed. Its failure sealed Jane's fate. Mary, no longer able to justify leniency, signed her young cousin's death warrant. Jane, informed of her impending execution, received the news with the same quiet dignity she had displayed throughout her ordeal. She had long accepted the possibility of death, finding solace in her faith and the belief that her soul would find peace in the afterlife. On a cold February morning in 1554, Lady Jane Grey, barely 17 years old, was escorted to the scaffold erected within the Tower of London. She wore simple attire, a stark contrast to the rich robes she had donned during her brief reign. Her composure in the face of death astonished onlookers. She addressed the crowd with a brief speech, acknowledging her claim to the throne had been unlawful, but maintaining her innocence in the face of treason. With that, she knelt, offering her neck to the executioner. Her life, cut tragically short, became a cautionary tale of ambition, religious strife, and the fickle hand of fate. Lady Jane Grey, the 9 Days Queen, passed into history, remembered for her intellect, her piety, and her unwavering composure in the face of unimaginable adversity.